Welcome to another episode of Bargain Bin Saturdays. In this week's episode, we finally take a look at the last movie in the Jean-Claude Van Damme collection, Until Death. Now, before I go into details about Until Death, I guess I should stop and talk about the other three movies, just to recap. We started out our adventure with Double Team, a movie marred by bad acting and the horrible choice of casting Dennis Rodman as Jean-Claude Van Damme's partner, but don't actually use him as a partner until about halfway through the movie. And then when they do introduce him, they fill the movie up with a bunch of bad basketball puns. It's a horrible movie that I just don't know why it has to exist. I don't know why anyone thought Dennis Rodman could be an action star. He's a basketball player. I know he tried being a wrestler at one point in time too, but Dennis Rodman really should have stuck to basketball like Shaquille O'Neal. After that little adventure, we took a look at Assassination Games, a movie with 4 plots it's trying to follow. One with Jean-Claude Van Damme as a professional hitman, another hitman who used to work with dirty cops at Interpol, the dirty Interpol agents, and a guy who has a history with the hitman that is more emotive of the two we have that worked with the dirty cops. So we have 4 plots that are trying to tie themselves together, but none of the people that are in the movie are that interesting. You don't care for the Interpol agents because they're all dirty criminals. You don't care about the criminal himself because him getting all upset about his brother being shot and whatnot aren't that interesting because he's a villain. You don't care. You don't care about the second hitman because he doesn't get enough screen time really to work. And while he's more emotive than Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme is just boring because he doesn't really show any emotion the entire movie. About the only person he seems to care about at all is a service provider, if you catch my drift, who can get his turtle to come out of his shell. And no, I'm not talking about the thing in his pants either. He actually has a pet turtle in the movie, and she manages to get it to come out of its shell by stroking it the correct way. It's one of the weirdest, most strangest scenes I've ever seen to establish a connection between characters. And overall, the movie's just boring because you don't care about any of the 4 plots going on. I would have been happier if it wasn't made, probably, because then I wouldn't have had to sit through it. And I found it more boring than some of the other movies I've gone through. And if you've watched any of the previous episodes, you know some of those movies are horrible. I like Street Fighters and Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave are probably the biggest examples of that issue. After that, we decided to stop and take a look at Maximum Risk in week 3. And while Maximum Risk is probably better than the previous 2 movies and tries to be a bit of film noir, it's constantly interrupted with action scenes. Action scenes that I don't really care for. They constantly get in the way of establishing the characters, and then has to deal with bad acting, especially from the female lead. She's just terrible in the role she was given. The only thing she really has going for her is sex appeal, and that's not going to really sell the movie to me. I mean, if I want to watch fan service, I can go watch an anime because they throw it at you all the time. There's plenty of them that do it, like Love Hina, and I've probably got a bunch of other stuff in my collection floating around too. And then we come back to Until Death, which is by far the best movie in the collection. It has a dark psychological element going for it with lots of on-screen deaths, and we follow Anthony Stowe, I guess not dirty cop, a drug-addicted cop that's been on hard times for some time now with his former partner turning drug dealer and master criminal, and his journey to try and capture him throughout the movie. Of course, to make things, they decide to show Anthony Stowe's recovery after he gets shot in the head and put into a coma for days, months. I'm not exactly sure how long he was out of it. They show his recovery of it too, and him coming to realization of what a horrible person he was. I get it's more of an interesting movie because it feels more like a character study than an action movie. Don't get me wrong. There's some action scenes in there, and some of those action scenes have a bit of wonky editing, or at least one of them does. I guess it's trying to demonstrate how drunk the character is, but it just comes across as really weird choice of editing, in my opinion. And they also have the intelligence to keep the female lead off the screen most of the time, because she delivers her lines horribly. I'll put a clip of that at the end of this review and hope that I don't get marked for it, because I've had a lot of videos get blocked lately with this show because they're movies. Maybe if I didn't use so much movie footage, I'd get away with it more, so we'll see. Outside of that, there's not much to talk about. I mean, there's the big action scene at the end of the movie. And the movie does manage to throw in at least one plot twist I didn't see coming. It throws one at you that you expected, and throws a curveball onto it, so that's good. At least it caught me off guard once there. I mean, there's certain patterns you expect in a movie with a drug-addicted cop, right? And that's what I have to say about it. I mean, Until Death Stands Up is a decent movie. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It's in between the two. Decent to good. You'll enjoy it if you pay attention to it, and that's about all you're going to get out of it. It's not going to leave a lasting impression on you like some other movies. And with that, I think it's time to sign off so I can go work on some other reviews, or a review. I gotta get a review out for the video game War on Christmas out today as well, or I'd like to get it done today.
I'm pregnant.